Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
All right, me and Brandon are doing a joint show today. Let us know if you can hear Brandon okay, because we're basically working off of one mic. This bad boy right here. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to pick us up, but if you have trouble hearing Brandon, let us know. We can think about some alternative setups, or we could just ask Brandon to speak up, boy. All right. So this show was by popular demand. I wasn't planning on doing this show because I've already done 2 streams this weekend. We did one with Sal Albanese in New York about Final Five voting. Then we did one with Wendy Hamilton. Oh my God, I've done 3. This is the 4th. We did one with Wendy Hamilton on the Forward Party. Then I did a reaction to Kim Iverson's Forward Party explanation. And here we are. I mean, this is what happens when you give a nerd a 3-day weekend and the people want more content, like the Leongs deliver. All right. So we got a little hello nerds from Jonathan LeBron. Hello, nerds. Hey, Brandon, say hello. See if Jonathan can hear you.
Hello, nerds.
All right. Let us know in the chat if you can hear Brandon. If not, we're going to have to tell him to really speak up. All right. So while we let everybody join, let me just set this up, a little background. Oh, wow. We got a lot of people saying hi. Mariana's saying hi. Hello, Mariana. And that we're awesome. Well, thank you. You are awesome too. And that is a beautiful doggy. All right. Jonathan LeBron says loud and clear, 5x5, baby. Let's go. All right. So what are we doing here? Why are we doing this stream? It's because a couple things happened. Nell Nieves, one of our channel members, DM'd me on Twitter, and he said, "Hey man, you should do a video about Trump's speech." Oh, Deborah Bach is at the dog park. Make sure you watch. You know what's the worst thing about being at the dog park? Is if you're distracted and your dog delivers a little something, and then you don't notice it. And then someone has to tell you. I always feel terrible because I don't want to be that guy who doesn't pick up after his dog. But sometimes, like literally, Miss Daisy runs off in the corner. I didn't even know she did it.
Yeah, but at this point, we're the people who are in the show. And they're watching.
Yeah, that's right. We're not at the dog park anymore. But Deborah is. Deborah says she picks up everyone's that you know of. No, I'm sure you picked them all up. Although the worst thing, I don't know why, but picking up somebody else's dog's poop is like the most disgusting thing ever.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Because it's still the same biologically. It's just poop.
I was gonna say that it was the best feeling because, like,
the best feeling is pick up somebody else's poop.
You feel like you've achieved a goal.
Someone else's poop?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's certainly you're doing something for the community, right? You're making the place a little better than you found it. Like when we go hiking, we always try and pick up one piece of trash that wasn't ours. So that's good. All right, Mickey's saying it's great to see the nerdling. Yes. Oh my God, another dog lover.
Beagle?
It might be. It might be a beagle of some sort.
I think that's a beagle.
She uses the rake. Well, who would have thought that we would have started off our show about dog poop? But we will. So Nell Nieves, I'm not sure how I transitioned that to Biden's speech, although maybe Biden's speech was a flaming pile of dog poop. Because apparently it created quite a brouhaha. And I actually didn't watch it until all of this like MAGA uprising. And then Nell said, "Hey man, just so you know, a lot of people found this speech divisive. So then I was like, all right, man, like, I tell you what, I will do a Nerds React live stream about it if this tweet gets 75 likes. So if you don't follow me yet on Twitter, follow me now, Nerds for Yang, at Nerds for Yang, or Tom from Nerds for Humanity, whatever. And because I put a lot of, I do crowdsourcing of content for this show. And I said, look, man, I've done 3 streams this weekend. So and I want to work on my aquarium with my fishies, which we did. And maybe we'll show, if there's enough people that want to see the fishies, maybe at the end of the stream we'll show them. Although right now one of the tanks is a little cloudy because we did some aquascaping. Yeah. So I said, look, if this thing gets 75 likes, I'll do it. And that was just yesterday at 12 p.m. And it did. It got 90 likes.
Rushed it.
Yeah, because the people were like, get up, get on there, nerd. Make me that content.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, Nell's a member. We got 90 likes. And then someone else suggested, oh, where was it? Jesse Powell, he or she, I think he said, hey, look, if you're going to do something about Biden's speech, you should do a back-to-back with Trump's own speech. If Biden is so divisive, why don't you look at both of them? So, Mickey remembers the aquarium video I did, which Brandon said was cringeworthy. Maybe Mickey didn't watch it with the audio. She didn't hear this subliminal messaging about basic income. Okay, so Deborah says, hey, I didn't listen to either. Well, this is perfect for you, Deborah, because we're going to listen to both together if you have time. And if you don't have time, catch it on replay, because this is gonna be a ride that we're going on. So get your agua.
I have milk.
You got milk, like a growing young man. Buckle up, because we're about to go down and see what caused so much consternation from the MAGA land. As an example, here is a video. Oh,
that sounded like you said constipation.
It sounds like constipation, but it's not. But it's kind of similar. All right, here's an example. Nikki Haley, who I'm not sure if she's running for president or this cycle or next cycle, or maybe running for like vice president. Yes. Buckle up, Buttercup. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. We're about to do a react video. So here's why I actually did, prior to seeing all of this like MAGA hatred of Biden, I was like, what is the big deal? He just gave a speech, whatever. But then, like, as an example, listen to what she said. And then, oh, by the way, I'm not going to mute my microphone when I play this, but I think it will echo. So if it does echo in the chat, can you say echo, and then I'll mute? Otherwise, it'll be more convenient for me not to have to mute, but I'm happy to mute. So as an example.
But any freedom-loving Americans that looked at that would have felt very bad about that bright red backdrop with those officers back there with the president lecturing the rest of the country on who's right and who's wrong and who's bad and who's good. You see this in other countries. You don't see this kind of dictator-type language coming out of the president of the freest country in the world. And so I think if he keeps this up, I think he's got much more serious problems come November. But any freedom-loving Americans that looked at that would have felt very bad about that bright red backdrop with those officers back there with the president lecturing the rest of the country on who's right and who's wrong and who's bad and who's good. You see this in other countries. You don't see this kind of dictator-type language.
All right. So sorry for the original echo. I did mute it subsequently. But the gist of what Nikki Haley was saying was like, hey, how dare the president of the United States give a speech with a bunch of Marines behind him and flags, and then accusing, telling the country what's good and what's not good. Like, where was she from 2016 to 2020? I'm pretty sure Biden was not the first president to stand in front of the flag and in front of Marines and tell the country what he thought it needed to hear. So it says, and specifically, what Nikki is saying is that last night his speech was chilling. Oh my God, chilling. I didn't know these MAGA people were so sensitive. I thought that the Democrats were the snowflakes worried about mean tweets, but apparently Nikki Haley said, no, this speech was chilling. First, they said we were extremists. Then they called us deplorable, and now we're semi-fascists. It's unthinkable that a president would speak about half of Americans that way. Okay. So based on this, you would think that Biden basically came out and just inflamed half the country and said, you all suck. You're not real Americans. Get the hell out of here. Love it or leave it. You know, you're not real patriots. Like, that sounds like a president I've seen in the past, but not Biden. But let's see. Let's give Nikki and all of the MAGA people
benedict of the doubt, benefit of the doubt.
You got there. Eventually you got there. Yes, benefit of the doubt. Let's give Nikki benefit of the doubt, and let's watch the speech together. But let's just also remember that the whole MAGA world has been talking about this being chilling, unthinkable, unspeakable. Deborah's like, yes, this is unspeakable. Oh, it's like pearl clutching moment. So let's see. Maybe it was pretty bad. So what we're going to do now is we're going to share our other screen. I'm going to remember the mute. So thank you, Jonathan, for telling me about the audio issue just now. And we're going to look at Mr. Joseph Biden. And right off the bat, I will say, I remember when Trump would give speeches and have the Marines behind him. I didn't love it. And I thought it was kind of politicizing the military. So on this front, I will say that right off the bat, Biden giving a speech with like the military behind him, it's a little much, right? In my opinion. Secondly, from a set design point of view, the red kind of backlighting is a little like.
Is that real?
Yeah, no, that's how they really did it.
It looks like a wall.
It looks kind of like.
It doesn't look real.
Like hell, right? Like some dark, like
red.
Like, yeah, like some kind of Star Wars villain kind of vibe to it. Any rate, so right off the bat, I do agree with the MAGA people that the optics here are not great. Now, Deborah is reminding us that 45 walked out with it. Yes, but that's a low bar, Deborah. I would argue. I would hope that we think of Trump as like a strange anomaly. You know, kind of like in your past, you had that one night where you kind of made some bad choices. But hopefully, we would hope Biden would have a higher standard. Jonathan saying, yeah, Emperor Palpatine memes. Yes. There has a little bit of like dark evil vibe to it, but let's see that. I mean, that in and of itself does not mean that he's insulting half of America and telling them to leave the country and that they're despicable. So let's see what he actually says. And I shall mute myself. One thing I will say is I find Jill Biden to be very likable, and she just seems like a very authentic person, different than the previous first lady. But let's get back to the substance. All right, so that was the entrance. So far, so good. I will also. I know a lot of MAGA people don't really. They know that I find that their leader truly deplorable, and many of their beliefs to be
Unspeakable.
unspeakable. The Jan 6 stuff beneath contempt, I would say. But I will agree with them that Biden is kind of aged. He entered office on the older side, and he's a slower, like physically slow, not a fantastic speaker. I mean, we'll see how this speech goes, but I will agree with him that now that's different than saying, "Oh, how dare he call us all, scum of the earth and insult half the country." But that's just a good general reaction.
My fellow Americans, please, if you
It got so red.
Not a great start.
The timing was a little.
The coughing.
Yeah.
The coughing was not great. But again, we are critiquing Biden as a presenter. And just as a reminder of what, let's see what, because you should remember what the MAGA media was saying about this speech. So let's see if I can find it. Let's see.
I was just wondering why did all the light get extremely red once he started talking?
Yeah, I think their set production people were trying to make it look dramatic. But let's see. Okay. So as an example, I just want people to know what the MAGA people said about this speech before we actually get into it. So here's Sean Hannity. Republicans react to Biden's fiery MAGA bashing speech. Nazi Joe has got to go. This is on Hannity.com. Bro is accusing Joe Biden of being a Nazi. Okay.
That's not even like you can't even argue about calling someone a Nazi. I mean, that's just like out of the entire that's not even political. What's that?
He calls it the Reich stuff, as in the Third Reich. Biden's divisive speech draws Hitler, Satan comparisons. So this is Sean Hannity, and this is on Hannity.com. Trump torches Biden. Someone should explain to him what MAGA means. Biden blasted for angry, rancid speech, demeaning half of America. And then it has a panel. Okay, so I think we all get now that the MAGA world was totally fired up about this speech that we're about to see here. So let's get back to the original speech. And at this rate, Brandon, we'll be done by the time you go to school tomorrow morning. So we gotta get moving.
Okay.
If you have a seat, take it. I speak to you tonight from sacred ground in America, Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is where America made its Declaration of Independence to the world more than 2 centuries ago with an idea unique among nations.
What a start, dude. Bro sounds like he's really struggling. But in fair, and now the lighting, I see what you mean by the lighting, and then the black silhouettes of the Marines behind him. It's like, what is this, dude? You would think they would have tested it first, but also I'm gonna speed up the playback speed just so we can get through more of it. If you want to watch the actual speech, just go on YouTube and search for Biden's speech. But we're going to go to 1.5 speed so we can get through this.
That in America, we're all created equal. This is where the United States Constitution was written and debated. This is where we set in motion the most extraordinary experiment of self-government the world has ever known. With three simple words: we the people. We the people. These two documents and the ideas they embody, equality and democracy, are the rock upon which this nation is built. They're how we became the greatest nation on earth. They're why, for more than 2 centuries, America has been a beacon to the world. But as I stand here tonight, equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise. So tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face, about the power we have in our own hands.
You know, actually at 1.25 speed, he actually sounds okay, as Elizabeth pointed out. But so far, we're a few minutes into the speech, and he's basically saying, hey, I'm in this sacred place, a place where democracy of America was birthed. It's about representation of the people. So far, I would not use the word rancid as Sean Hannity used, or it doesn't strike me as a Nazi speech, but maybe he'll get more fired up in a minute.
Meet these threats and about the incredible future that lies in front of us if only we choose it. We must never forget, we the people are the true heirs of the American experiment that began more than 2 centuries ago. We the people have burning inside of each of us the flame of liberty that was lit here at Independence Hall. A flame that lit our way through abolition, the Civil War, suffrage, the Great Depression, world wars, civil rights. That sacred flame still burns. Now in our time, as we build an America that is more prosperous, free, and just. That is the work of my presidency, a mission I believe in with my whole soul.
Okay, so far, we're a few minutes into the speech. Seems pretty kind of like normal. Just like, hey, look, it's important American experiment, democracy. This is like my commitment, yada yada. So no rancid, chilling stuff yet.
I'm gonna have to say it's pretty normal, except for the background. Like, it's not, you don't see that every day. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't like the background.
No.
The background's not helping him. If that red was blue, it would have a very different vibe, or even just like a light white, just a normal kind of untinted color. But let's keep going.
But first, we must be honest with each other and with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Okay, so that's the first salvo, as they would say on the SAT. That is the first time that he's basically saying, hey, that America, fantastic, representation, fantastic, but Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, let's see what the exact language he used was.
Today is not normal.
Okay, not normal.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that is a threat to the republic. Now, I think he is probably referring not to the people who just supported Trump for re-election. I think what he's really talking about is all those Stop the Steal, the Italian satellites, and the dead, Venezuelan dictator and George Soros meeting up and stealing votes in the middle of the night, and then like no evidence of any of this, and his whole team saying it's BS, and Attorney General Barr using the word BS, which I won't use with you, Brandon, but it means it's like poppycock. And so I think now, look, if you still believe that the election was stolen despite the absence of any evidence, that is an extremist view. You can't lose 60 court cases in front of many times Trump-appointed judges and still say like, oh no, the storm is coming, like the Marines and the special forces are going to suddenly take Nancy Pelosi away. Like, that is an extreme view. And to deny it to this day is, in my opinion, extreme. But if you are one of those people, and I think there are a lot of people who believe that Biden is not even the legitimate president, and then they hear him say MAGA is extremist, I would understand why they get offended. But it's kind of true. It's kind of true. Like, it was the most secure election in American history. There was zero evidence of mass fraud. Even Republican governors agreed. And the result was an invasion of the Capitol by a bunch of thugs who all seemed to support President Biden's opponent. So, at any rate, so far, I'm not hearing anything rancid, but he's not mincing words. He's basically saying Trump and the MAGA people. Now, what he could have done, in fairness to the Republicans who are not extremists, what he could have done is said, and when I say MAGA, what I mean are the people who deny obvious truth, who do not support the rule of law, and who are loyal to Trump irrespective of the facts. And then the other Republicans would say like, okay, yeah, I get it. He's talking about like the really hardcore, like the boat parade type people, right? All right, let's keep going.
Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans, are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
Okay, so he's drawing a distinction here between Trump/MAGA and then the rest of the Republican Party. It's kind of like the Democrats are not the squad. They're a wing of the Democratic Party. No party, like no one extreme kind of represents the whole party. So he's trying to say the hardcore Trumpists who are in a way kind of Republicans in name only. Like, they're not really for limited government. They're not really for strong foreign policy. They're not really for rule of law and execution of constitutional norms, right? They're something else. And he's saying, like, I'm telling you that it's that group that's most dangerous. Does that make sense to you so far, Brandon? What do you think?
I think that you're right. He probably could have addressed it a little bit differently than all of the MAGA are like extremists and stuff.
He probably should have been more clear.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you have a propensity to be triggered, then you're going to get pissed right now. Your blood pressure is already going up. If you're kind of like listening to be offended.
These are hard things. But I'm an American president, not a president of red America or blue America, but of all America. And I believe it's my duty to level with you, to tell the truth, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful. And here, in my view, is what is true. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people.
Okay. So he's really taking the gloves off now. Like, they don't respect the rule of law. They don't respect the Constitution. They don't respect the will of the people. Now, if I were him, if I were his speechwriter, I probably would have said extremist MAGA Republicans, right? Then it would have been clear who he's talking about, not like anybody who voted for Trump is what he's talking about. That would have Brandon, that little change in language could help the speech land so much better, because it does come across, if you're not listening carefully, or if you're not giving him the benefit of the doubt, you're like, my God, he's insulting half of the country. So he could have said extreme MAGA. That probably would have been a better term.
They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies, empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence.
Okay, so in this case, I will say that now he's kind of muddying the waters, because he's talking about the freedom for women to choose to get an abortion. And he's saying, oh yeah, the MAGA Republicans are out to take this away. Now, what that does is then it kind of starts to blur the lines between Republicans who are pro-life but aren't extreme MAGA. So I would say, yeah, and now that I'm watching it the second time, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It does sound like he's not making it super crisp. If I were him, I would have just focused on like the really out there MAGA. But just saying like, oh, hey, it's anybody who's pro-life and they're terrible. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of, I mean, we have members of our own family who are pro-life, and they're not, terrible people. They're our blood.
Yep.
They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country. They look at the mob that stormed the United States Capitol on January 6th, brutally attacking law enforcement, not as insurrectionists who placed a dagger at the throat of our democracy, but they look at them as patriots.
Okay, now that I think is unquestionably a legitimate criticism of MAGA. That anybody who thinks that the people who raided the Capitol during a joint session of Congress, while it was performing one of its most sacred acts of certifying a national presidential election, where the results were pre-certified by all of the state legislatures, and to try and literally break into the building during their process of doing that and forcing everyone to evacuate, like, that is deplorable. But mixing the Jan 6 people with the pro-life people, little bit murky for me.
And they see their MAGA failure to stop a peaceful transfer of power after the 2020 election as preparation for the 2022 and 2024 elections. They tried everything last time to nullify the votes of 81 million people. This time, they're determined to succeed in thwarting the will of the people.
Okay, Brandon is pointing out a question from Deborah. Is our brother Peter a MAGA Republican or an extremist? I would say he is extreme MAGA.
I think he's like, if there were 5 levels, MAGA, not really MAGA, no, and then MAGA, kind of extreme, and then extreme. I think I would say kind of extreme.
Yeah, because our brother, well, your uncle, my brother, well, one, he lives in Florida, so that
Kind of
explains a lot, right? He definitely fits in to the political leanings of that state. He still made a bet with me after, I think it was in December. He made a bet with me after the election was called that Trump would be president at the end of January. Because, right? And he gave me $100. And that just goes to show you that he, in his heart of hearts, really believed that somehow, and he told me, he's like, well, we all thought the military was going to come in on January 6th, that it was going to be wild and everybody was going to be ready. And I said, I thought after, when we talked about why he lost the bet, I said, but you told me just yesterday that the people rating were Antifa and BLM. So how is it that you all thought that you were going to take the presidency and it was a big staged kind of false flag from Antifa? And then he changed the subject, and I think he asked me about Hillary's emails. So I would say, yes, my brother is extreme MAGA. I think anybody who refuses to accept the legitimacy of Biden's presidency after everything that has come out, not from Democrats, but literally from Republicans, not only in the Jan 6 committee hearings, which were incredible, but also through 60 lost court cases. And you still think that this election was stolen because of like one dude's quasi documentary, this 10,000 Mules thing? It's like, seriously? Come on now. All right, let's keep going.
That's why respected conservatives like Federal Circuit Court Judge Michael Liddig has called Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans, quote, a clear and present danger to our democracy. But while the threat to American democracy is real, I want to say as clearly as we can, we are not powerless in the face of these threats. We are not bystanders in this ongoing attack on democracy. There are far more Americans from every background and belief who reject the extreme MAGA ideology than those that accept it.
All right, we should, in fairness, to give voice to both sides, there are definitely some pro-MAGA people in the chat room, which is awesome. So welcome to the Nerd Zone. All are welcome.
I couldn't tell if they were actually MAGA or just being sarcastic. I couldn't tell.
Oh. Actually, so Sammy Joe is saying totally stolen. Obviously, it happens all the time. So you think he's being sarcastic?
Oh, no. Sammy,
okay.
Tell us.
Well, Sammy, let us know if you really think it was stolen. And if you do, that's cool. Like, you're entitled to your opinion. I would consider that an extreme view, but you might be extremely convinced of that. Nate is saying 60 lost court cases that never went to trial and were just tossed out. That's not entirely true. There were some that did go in front of a judge. And part of the reason is that if you don't have evidence, you don't get to go to trial. You have to show a minimum amount of credible. You have to have a case before you get to, like, not everybody gets a trial. But they were, there was a lot of Trump judges. But I get it. I know I've heard that narrative. Another MAGA member of my family said, no one ever saw the evidence. And I was like, really? Like, do you really believe all of these states and state courts and governors would allow all of this smoking gun evidence not to be seen in an actual courtroom? You really believe that? If it were that big of a deal, like literally the presidency was stolen like, wouldn't you still be pursuing the evidence now? Like, where is this evidence? Like that grainy video of them moving ballots using a ballot container, which they addressed in the chat.
I think I might know where the evidence is.
Where's the evidence?
It's gonna be in a bunch of trash bins.
Yeah, or it could be in Mar-a-Lago, maybe it's in Barron's room. I don't know, but at any rate, yes, but we do. They never. Also, Nate's response. Yeah, also it's not 10,000 mules. It's 2,000
No,
mules.
you said 1,000.
Or I thought I said 10,000, but it's 2,000 mules, which former Trump appointed Attorney General William Barr, who watched that documentary, called it laughable and entirely BS. And the other thing is, like, look, this is America. If you truly have election evidence of a stolen election, it's not like the statute of limitations is 2 years. Like, bring it on. Like, where is it? There's the MyPillow guy that said he was going to do this big reveal. Never happened. And if the 2,000 mule stuff is so great, like, why doesn't Trump, with his $100 million election defense fund, take Dinesh D'Souza and all of his evidence and go and bring it to any court? Do it in Florida. You know?
Yep.
If there's fraud in Florida, if there's fraud in Texas, do it in Texas. You know? Like, or put it out there for all of us to see. But I mean, you can only look for bamboo in the ballot so many times and come up with even the cyber ninjas said there was nothing, you know, clearly
What's that?
Mass fraud. That was some group of like investigators that were hired by the MAGA people. All right, let's keep going because we're going to run out of time. But I do want to thank the people in the chat who are pro-Trump and believe the election was stolen for sharing your thoughts. We respect it. We strongly disagree. We don't find it compelling, but everybody's entitled to their opinion.
And folks, it's within our power, it's in our hands, yours and mine, to stop the assault on American democracy. I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those moments that determine the shape of everything that's to come after. And now, America must choose to move forward or to move backwards, to build a future or obsess about the past, to be a nation of hope and unity and optimism, or a nation of fear, division, and of darkness. MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos. They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies. But together we can choose a different path. We can choose a better path.
Okay, so we're kind of a third of the way in. And as a reminder, Sean Hannity called this angry, rancid, and the Reich stuff, comparing Biden to Hitler and Satan. So if you watch Sean Hannity, you probably would be convinced of this, especially if you didn't watch the speech like we are. But here we are watching the speech minute by minute, second by second. And so far, I'm not hearing anything rancid. Yes, he is definitely calling out MAGA. And I would say he should have said extreme MAGA. But he's saying, hey, look, there's a bunch of people who are not in favor of honoring the rule of law. And they've taken it too far. And they're, well, he hasn't said it, but they're basically a clear and present danger to democracy if we can't have peaceful transfers of power and you have to like literally invade the Capitol every 4 years when your guy doesn't win. Like, that's not cool.
Did you say he didn't say? Did you say he didn't say clear and present danger?
I don't think he said clear and present danger yet.
He did. Yeah.
Later in the speech?
No, he did. He did before.
Oh, he did say clear. Okay, well then great. So he's saying they are a clear and present danger, and he said it explicitly. And I would agree with that, because if you have a bunch of people who basically say anytime we lose, it's stolen, and we're going to literally force our way into the Capitol. Like, that's not how a democracy works. Like, as an example, when Trump won, like, nobody said that the ballots were stolen or fake or the machines were vulnerable in 2016, right?
I was just thinking about what would happen if Democrats said, "Oh, the Trump the Trump becoming a president was stolen. It was fake. It was rigged." I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when they said, "Oh, where's your evidence?" we said, "Oh no, we have evidence. We have evidence."
But then I don't think the Democrats, they did have a march where they all wore like pink hats and stuff, but they didn't force their way into the Capitol and break all the doors down and like beat on the police officers and then still say, oh, Trump is illegitimate. I think there are, for sure, actually, Senator Marco Rubio led the Senate Intelligence Committee study that did show Russia did try and influence the campaign and the race, but nothing close to what I mean. When I think eventually Hillary did give a concession speech, I still don't think Trump has actually given a concession speech. He has not conceded that he lost, so that tells you a lot.
Didn't you say that like Trump didn't go to one of
the inauguration?
Yeah, of Joe Biden?
No, he didn't go.
Oh.
Now Daniel B is saying, hey, wait a minute. They called him illegitimate for 4 years. Okay, first of all, Hillary conceded. Secondly, nobody claimed that there were all these like fake ballots going around. And thirdly, there were people that called him illegitimate because he did get help. But I think it's very different than what Trump is doing now, which is not conceding, continuing to spread lies actively on a daily basis 2 years later, and convincing his people that all of their votes were discredited. I mean, imagine if Hillary went around and said to everybody, all of your votes were thrown out. You should do something about it. Anyway, let's keep going.
Path forward to the future, a future of possibility, a future to build and dream and hope. And we're on that path moving ahead. I know this nation. I know you, the American people. I know your courage. I know your hearts. And I know our history. This is a nation that honors our Constitution. We do not reject it. This is a nation that believes in the rule of law. We do not repudiate it. This is a nation that respects free and fair elections. We honor the will of the people. We do not deny it. And this is a nation that rejects violence as a political tool. We do not encourage violence.
Okay, so in the chat, Daniel B saying, hey, you know, Hillary called him illegitimate. He said it. She said it in an interview. Let's be super clear. Like, Donald Trump literally never gave a concession speech. And whether you like Hillary or not, she did. Now, maybe afterwards, she's like, hey, I still feel like I should have won. Okay. But at least she gave a concession speech. She didn't give the speech that Trump gave on January 6th, where he told them to like march to the Capitol and burn it down. In fact, here is
Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so very much for being here. And I love you all, too. Last night, I congratulated Donald Trump and offered to work with him on behalf of our country. I hope that he will be a successful president for all Americans. This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for, And I'm sorry that we did not win this election for the values we share and the vision we hold for our country. But I feel pride and gratitude for this wonderful campaign that we built together.
Okay, so clearly she conceded like a grown-up. Days after, this is on November 11th. Let's see, when was 2016 presidential election? The election was November 8th. So 3 days later, she concedes. Has anybody here in the chat seen the Trump concession speech? We'll wait. We'll wait. Oh, it's going to be happening in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Around the same time that he's going to unveil the amazing Trump healthcare plan. Remember that? That's coming out very shortly, as well as his taxes. The man basically, okay, I'm not going to rant. We're going to go back to Biden's speech. Oh, I got a little triggered by the orange dude. All right. But, you know, I feel bad for him in a way, but we won't go into that.
We are still an America that believes in honesty and decency and respect for others. Patriotism, liberty, justice for all, hope, possibilities. We are still at our core a democracy. And yet, history tells us the blind loyalty to a single leader and a willingness to engage in political violence is fatal to democracy. For a long time, we told ourselves that American democracy is guaranteed, but it's not. We have to defend it, protect it, stand up for it, each and every one of us. That's why tonight I'm asking our nation to come together, unite behind the single purpose of defending our democracy regardless of your ideology. We're all called by duty and conscience to confront extremists who put their own pursuit of power above all else. Democrats, independents, mainstream Republicans. We must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy than MAGA Republicans are to destroying American democracy. We, the people, will not let anyone.
Okay, so on that one, by the way, if you're finding this conversation interesting, like and share. What should they do? Should they like and share?
Yeah.
What should they do to that like button?
They should smash the like button.
Smash it. Okay, so in this one, I will actually side a little bit with the MAGA people, because he's saying that the MAGA people, I think he said, are committed to destroying democracy. And I don't think that's entirely true. I think even the extreme MAGA are just so loyal to Trump, and they so want to believe that the election was stolen, that in their heart of hearts, they really thought, especially the Jan 6 people, they really thought that they were trying to defend the country. I don't think they woke up and they wake up every morning saying, oh, I'm extreme MAGA, I want to remove democracy for everyone. I think they really, in their heart of hearts, they're wrong, but in my opinion, but they believe that their guy really won. And if you really believe your guy won, and you watch all these kind of like MAGA media, and it's like, hey, you know, George Soros, and there was bamboo in the ballot paper, and you know, what's that? The ballot, the electronic ballot counting company, whatever the name of it was. Like they had this back door, and you could just log in and change the votes. Like if you really believe that stuff, then of course you'd be pissed off. So, you know, I think Biden went a little too far here by saying, oh, the whole goal of MAGA people is to destroy democracy. I think they're just misguided and unfortunately manipulated, not only by Trump, who is only interested in Trump, but also all the MAGA influencers and media shows, and that's like a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar business where they make money by stirring up, these conspiracy theories about like pedophiles and pizza parlors and all this crazy stuff. Like that's a business. And unfortunately, a lot of the MAGA people, they have, I think they have actually good intentions, but they, I find that they've been misled.
Or anything tear us apart. Today, there are dangers around us we cannot allow to prevail. We here, you've heard it, more and more talk about violence as an acceptable political tool in this country. It's not. It can never be an acceptable tool. So I want to say this plain and simple. There is no place for political violence in America, period. None, ever. We saw law enforcement brutally attacked on January 6th. We've seen election officials, poll workers, many of them volunteers of both parties, subject to intimidation and death threats. And can you believe it? FBI agents, just doing their job as directed, facing threats to their own lives from their own fellow citizens. On top of that, there are public figures today, yesterday, and the day before.
Now, on this one, I find the hypocrisy to be the worst in the MAGA world, where, in 2019 and 20, it was all about Blue Lives Matter, the rule of law, follow the Constitution, and then suddenly it's defund the FBI, which is just, it's so kind of situational ethics. It's like, oh, when it's good for me, I'm going to say protect the law enforcement. But when it's bad for my team, I'm going to say defund them. Now, you could argue there's like hypocrisy on the Democratic side. Maybe there's some people who were defund the police and now they're like all in love with the FBI. But as an example, I myself, when they said defund the police, I was like, that's ridiculous. We should actually give more money to the police so they can have better training and have more resources, and we can expect more from our law enforcement. And then now when people say defund the FBI, I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, if anything, we need to support law enforcement at the federal level as well. So I do think Biden's right here, which is like calling for violence against FBI agents who are really just doing their job is pretty, it's pretty gross. What do you think?
It's pretty unspeakable.
It's unspeakable. Yeah, I was thinking of the same word. Okay, here we go.
Predicting and all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets. This is inflammatory. It's dangerous. It's against the rule of law. And we, the people, must say, this is not who we are. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. They're incompatible. We can't allow violence to be normalized in this country. It's wrong. We each have to reject political violence with all the moral clarity and conviction this nation can muster. Now, we can't let the integrity of our elections be undermined, for that is a path to chaos. Look, I know politics can be fierce and mean and nasty in America. I get it. I believe in the give and take of politics, in disagreement and debate and dissent. We're a big, complicated country, but democracy endures only if we, the people, reach.
So we're halfway through. I could see why he's painting with a broader brush than he should have, but calling this like the Fourth Reich and comparing him to Hitler, that just seems like Sean Hannity's trying to get clicks and trying to get more viewers, and so he could make more money, right? Like, if most of his followers, most of Hannity's people probably aren't going to watch the Biden speech, but they will just hear the interpretations of like what Hannity and Tucker Carlson and OAN and Newsmax say. But let's keep going. I'm not hearing anything like on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 being perfectly neutral, 1 being extremely pro-Trump and pro-MAGA, and 10 being like third or fourth Reich, Nazi, Satan, chilling. I mean, I would say maybe this is like, what do you think? What's your number? I've got a number in my mind.
You tell me.
I'm thinking 6.7.
Out of what?
Out of from 1 to 10. 5 being neutral. Yeah, he's giving heck to a lot of the MAGA, and he's probably a little bit too generalizing about the MAGA people, saying, "Oh, they're against democracy entirely." But it's not anything like Nikki Haley and Sean Hannity and all those MAGA influencers and leaders are saying, in my opinion. Maybe Biden says more. Let's keep going.
Respect the guardrails of the republic. Only if we, the people, accept the results of free and fair elections. Only if we, the people, see politics not as total war, but mediation of our differences. Democracy cannot survive when one side believes there are only 2 outcomes to an election. Either they win or they were cheated. And that's where the MAGA Republicans are today. They don't understand what every patriotic American knows. You can't love your country only when you win. It's fundamental. American democracy only works only if we choose to respect the rule of law and the institutions that were set up in this chamber behind me. Only if we respect our legitimate political differences. I will not stand by and watch. I will not the will of the American people be overturned by wild conspiracy theories and baseless evidence-free claims of fraud. I will not stand by and watch elections in this country stolen by people who simply refuse to accept that they lost.
Okay, I agree with him on that one. And he's basically saying, hey, I've remained silent on this because I suspect he probably thought the whole stolen election stuff would kind of die down when there was no evidence produced, no court cases won. I get it. There was D'Souza's 2000 Mule documentary. I think Bobby Numbers, who I believe is pretty pro-Trump from his previous comments, I think he puts it well here, which is that the problem with this speech is that even though he narrowly limits the scope of the speech in terms of who he is talking about, and in this case, I would say, I don't even think he does that well. I don't think he narrowly limits it well enough. But Bobby Numbers is saying that people listening to the speech hear him lambasting all MAGA Republicans. And that is true. That it's almost like anything Biden would have said that criticized the extreme wing of MAGA, it would have been insulting to all MAGA. And now you have to ask yourself, like, why is that? Is that because, Biden secretly hates half of the country? Or is it because, people, can be triggered, especially anybody who, who lost and has been, a firm believer in all these conspiracy theories? Like, nobody wants to be told that they're wrong or they're out there. Okay, let's keep going.
I will not stand by and watch the most fundamental freedom in this country, the freedom to vote and have your vote counted and be taken from you and the American people. Look, as your president, I will defend our democracy with every fiber of my being, and I'm asking every American to join me.
Okay, now, this is kind of fun that we have this MAGA group in the chat room because we can kind of it's interesting to kind of learn the perspective that other people have. Now Nate is saying, hey, look, If I had $1 for every Democrat I heard say the other side cheated, haha, Fox News plays 30-minute montages of liberals denying Trump's legitimacy. I think there is a nuanced difference here. And the nuanced difference is that, yes, you're right. There are plenty of people who thought Trump's win was a little bit suspicious and that he, as a president, he for sure did a terrible job as a president. And maybe there are montages of actually people saying that, hey, he should not have won because of, help he got from foreign countries. And you're right that there are people that say that, and I'm sure that you probably do a 2-hour montage. That's the thing now with video. There's enough video of everybody saying everything that you can make a montage. The difference is that those are angry supporters of Hillary who are like, man, this guy who beat us, I don't think he should have won. It is different than the sitting president while he's in the White House after Congress has certified the results, trying every which way he can to overturn the results by calling states saying, hey, I need you to find me 10,000 votes, by telling his vice president, just reject all of the states' voices, reject their certified results, send it back, by listening to all these kind of crazy, out there lawyers coming up with all of these theories about how any president can basically say they didn't they didn't lose. I think that's the difference. The difference isn't, do you have a montage of Democrats saying that that Trump shouldn't have won? Here's my question for you. Do you have a montage of Barack Obama telling his vice president, Joe Biden, hey, reject the results of the election. Don't let the states make Trump president. Do you have a montage of that? Do you have a montage of Obama giving a speech, in front of the White House saying, hey, let's march on the Capitol while they're certifying the election? That's the difference. The difference isn't that there were sore losers on the Democratic side and there were sore losers on the Republican. Yes, there were. The difference is you had a sitting president, the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces of the greatest democracy on the planet, with a grand tradition of the peaceful transfer of power, actively trying to undermine that. So
it's like saying if I got $1 for every Republican that said that the election was rigged, then I would be rich.
Yeah, everybody says everything. I think the difference is have the elected leaders on each side acted honorably and responsibly and legally. And in this case, I think, I'll let people draw their own conclusion, but I'm pretty sure Obama did not do what Trump did.
Throughout our history, America has often made the greatest progress coming out of some of our darkest moments, like you're hearing to that bullhorn. I believe we can and must do that again, and we are. MAGA Republicans look at America and see carnage and darkness and despair. They spread fear and lies told for profit and power. But I see a different America, an America with an unlimited future, an America that's about to take off. I hope you see it as well. Just look around. I believe we could lift America from the depths of COVID. So we passed the largest economic recovery package since Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And today, America's economy is faster, stronger than any other advanced nation in the world. We have more to go. I believe we could build a better America. So we passed the biggest infrastructure investment since President Dwight D. Eisenhower. And we've now embarked on a decade of rebuilding the nation's roads, bridges, highways, ports, water systems, high-speed.
Okay, at this point, he's basically saying, look, I've done all this great stuff. I got us a recovery package during the pandemic, passed the largest infrastructure bill in generations, provided more healthcare support to veterans who are victims of the burn pit stuff, also invested hundreds of millions in climate adaptation and climate change preparations. So he's saying he's done all these things. This is not Nazi-like to me. I mean, this is just a politician saying he's done a lot of things, right?
Oh, just wanted to ask, was the reason you highlighted Van Dormel's thing, was it because he spelled two wrong?
No, it was not. No. I'm pretty sure Von knows how to spell too.
Oh.
T-O-O.
Yeah.
But I think he's right that there's just a lot of people, whatever political party you belong to, that are a little out there. Let's keep going. But so far, I'm not hearing the Hitler stuff. I'm not hearing the Satan stuff, other than the color of the wall.
Speed internet, railroads. I believe we could make America safer, so we passed the most significant gun safety law since President Clinton. I believe we could go from being the highest cost of prescriptions in the world to making prescription drugs and healthcare more affordable. So we passed the most significant healthcare reform since President Obama signed the Affordable Care Act. And I believe we could create a clean energy future and save the planet. So we passed the most important climate initiative ever. The cynics and the critics tell us nothing can get done, but they're wrong. There is not a single thing America cannot do, not a single thing beyond our capacity if we do it together. It's never easy, but we're proving that America, no matter how long the road, progress does come.
This is totally, I mean, it's bordering on boring because he's just saying he's done a bunch of stuff, which is true. He has. I forgot about the gun control stuff and also appointing the first black woman to Supreme Court justice. Those are all achievements of his. He's done a lot in 2 years, actually. Now, my intuition is that he's not going to say anything anti-MAGA that's like Satan and Nazi and chilling or whatever. But in fairness, because I know if I stop this, people are going to say, hey, you know, you didn't watch the whole Biden thing. That's why you don't realize why Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Nikki Haley were right. Like, this is chilling. So let's play it through and see if we hear anything else that's like extremely offensive to half the country.
I just wanted to say, this related to speeches, as in like Trump's speeches and his rallies. Like, why do his supporters say chant USA if like it's like it doesn't really make sense, because it's the entire place. It's not only them who lives in the USA.
Yeah, that is like going to a football game between like the Seahawks and the Denver Broncos, and then like the Seahawks fans chanting USA, right? It's like, what are you talking about? Like the opponents are from the USA too. I think if I had to defend the MAGA crowds that do that, I think they would say, hey, we're just so proud of the country that we want to, you know, affirm our love for the United States of America. And I think they would say that implicitly that the other party, the Democratic Party, somehow hates America and doesn't like anything about it. And therefore, when we chant USA at the MAGA rally, we're basically saying, join us. We're the party that loves America. That other party wants to burn America down and destroy
the
it.
Capitol, yeah.
Well, yeah, the storm the Capitol is definitely not a USA thing. But, you know, they, like I said, I think those people were tricked and they really believed that they were doing something good for the country. Now, who should be responsible for tricking them? Like, I'll let the people decide, but I'm pretty sure Trump and the MAGA media grifters are the ones that, you know, the people who like line their pockets on MAGA outrage. You know, that I think they bear some responsibility.
Look, I know the last few years have been tough, but today, COVID no longer controls our lives. More Americans are working than ever. Businesses are growing. Our schools are open. Millions of Americans have been lifted out of poverty. Millions of veterans once exposed to toxic burn pits will now get what they deserve for their families and the compensation.
Now that's one of those crazy things that we actually did a video where we debunked the MAGA Republican opposition to the Veterans Health Bill. I mean, how is it that it took Biden to pass a bill supporting veterans health, and it was the Republicans, of all people, the USA Party, to vote against supporting veterans, and they only managed to approve it when everybody called them out on it? I mean, so like the great irony, like you have all these flags and you have your boat parades, and then when it comes time to supporting the people who put their lives on the line for this country, whether you supported the wars or not, like those soldiers did what they were ordered to do, and they deserve to be taken care of. And to vote against their care is just so sad and clearly politically motivated, because they didn't want Biden to have a win. And, you know, John McCain said it well, you got to put the country first. And I don't think the extreme MAGA Republicans like do that. And certainly Trump doesn't.
American manufacturers come alive across the heartland, and the future will be made in America. No matter what the white supremacists and the extremists say, I made a bet on you, the American people, and that bet is paying off, proving that from darkness, the darkness of Charlottesville, of COVID, of gun violence, of insurrection, we can see the light. Light is now visible. Light that will guide us forward, not only in words, but in actions. Actions for you, for your children, for your grandchildren, for America. Even in this moment, with all the challenges we face, I give you my word as a Biden, I've never been more optimistic about America's future. Not because of me, but because of who you are. We're going to end cancer as we know it. Mark my words. We're going to create millions of new jobs in the clean energy economy. We're going to think big. We're going to make the 21st century another American century, because the world needs us to.
All right. So far, no hugely divisive demonization of the MAGA. I think he did all of that when he was talking about the Jan 6 stuff. I think we can stipulate that he was too broad in his language. And if you were inclined to be offended, then there were reasons for you to find it. But again, I encourage everybody to look at the way if you're one of the people that made it this far in this video, you've watched more of the speech than 99% of most of the country. So just remember, next time you see these influencers tell you about what they call facts, like, you're watching the speech with us. You know, this is not the Third Reich stuff.
I don't think that the Republicans who say, "Oh, this is angry and rancid," I don't think that they actually watch it before they talk about it.
I think they get joy and money out of making Biden as evil as possible, appear as evil as possible, irrespective of the facts.
And then just hopes that it sounds like that.
And
based on the
they get
background
likes,
colors.
they get retweets, they get people subscribing, all that stuff. But like, you know, come on, like, there's a line that you shouldn't cross. And, you know, this is our country. But let's keep going. We're going to have to finish. And Mrs. Nerd, Mama Nerd, is telling us that dinner's ready. So what I'm going to do is finish the Biden speech, and then I'll do the reaction to the Trump speech in a separate video. So make sure you subscribe if you aren't, and you'll catch the second video when I might do it after dinner.
That's where we need to focus our energy. Not in the past, not on divisive culture wars, not on the politics of grievance, but on a future we can build together. The MAGA Republicans believe that for them to succeed, everyone else has to fail. They believe America is not like I believe about America. I believe America is big enough for all of us to succeed. And that is the nation we're building, a nation where no one is left behind. I ran for president because I believe we're in a battle for the soul of this nation. I still believe that to be true. I believe the soul is the breath, the life, and the essence of who we are. The soul is what makes us us. The soul of America is defined by the sacred proposition that all are created equal in the image of God, that all are entitled to be treated with decency, dignity, and respect, that all deserve justice and a shot at lives of prosperity and consequence. And that democracy must be defended, for democracy makes all these things possible. Folks, and it's up to us. Democracy begins and will be preserved in we, the people's habits of the heart, in our character, optimism that is tested yet endures, courage that digs deep when we need it, empathy that fuels democracy, the willingness to see each other not as enemies but as fellow Americans. Look, our democracy isn't perfect. It always has been. Notwithstanding those folks you hear on the other side there. They're entitled to be outrageous. This is a democracy. But history and common sense.
We're getting to the end. I'm not hearing anything extremely offensive. Like maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like totally demonizing all MAGA people, it's like a 7, and 5 is like just a fair calling out of people. What's the most offensive thing he said? Probably the one line that I think was most offensive was, oh, MAGA Republicans are trying to destroy democracy. Like I said before, I don't believe that. But other than that, like this seems like just like a boring political speech talking about his achievements and his generalized ideals. But to see the MAGA world try to make this some kind of like massive seismic event, maybe it just shows how desperate they are.
Good manners is nothing they've ever suffered from. But history and common sense tell us that opportunity, liberty, and justice for all are most likely to come to pass in a democracy. We have never fully realized the aspirations of our founding, but every generation has opened those doors a little bit wider to include more people who have been excluded before. My fellow Americans, America is an idea, the most powerful idea in the history of the world, and it beats in the hearts of the people of this country. It beats in all our hearts. It unites America. It is the American creed, the idea that America guarantees that everyone be treated with dignity. It gives hate no safe harbor. It installs in everyone the belief that no matter where you start in life, there's nothing you can't achieve. That's who we are. That's what we stand for. That's what we believe. And that's precisely what we're doing. Opening doors, creating possibilities, focusing on the future. And we're only just beginning. Our task is to make our nation free and fair, just and strong, noble and whole. And this work is the work of democracy, the work of this generation. It is the work of our time for all.
So I just put this little banner here saying in the comments, let me know what you think is so off the charts offensive. Like, what's the actual line and ideally the timestamp? You know, don't just say like, oh, it's the Third Reich and he's a Satan and Nazi and look how bad the color is on the wall. Like, we get that. We stipulated that. But like, what exactly did he say? Was it that, you know, the people who deny the legitimacy of the election process are subverting democracy? Because that's kind of true. So what is it that like is getting all of MAGA land so fired up? I really don't. I honestly, I mean, now we're like almost done with this speech. I've heard if you compare it again, like let's be real here. This is what the MAGA leaders are saying. They're saying that this is compared to Hitler and Satan. That angry, rancid, demeaning half of America paints political opponents as threats to American democracy. You know, this is what Sean Hannity, one of the leaders, and he says that all MAGA Republicans are a threat to the country.
I'd say some of them, the ones that tried to storm the Capitol. That's what I'd say.
Yes. So I think it's true that if you want to say, oh, he was talking about all MAGA, then yeah, that would be offensive. But I think if you watch the speech and you see his examples, I think it's pretty clear he's not talking about half of the country. I think he's talking about the extreme MAGA, and we all know what the extreme MAGA believe, and he lays it out. I mean, it's basically the Jan 6 election deniers, right?
Like not half of them.
No, he's not saying half. It's not half of the country that invaded the Capitol.
Maybe like 1/4. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not half of the country that was convinced, like, oh, the Kraken is coming and the storm is coming and all this stuff, and the Oath Keepers and the 2%ers and the 4chan people. Like, that's not half the country. So don't say, Sean Hannity, do not tell your followers that Biden insulted everyone. He was clearly talking about a very specific group of people, but could Biden have been more careful in his language and made it even more obvious? Absolutely.
All time. We can't afford to leave anyone on the sidelines. We need everyone to do their part. So speak up, speak out, get engaged, vote, vote, vote. And if we do our duty in 2022 and beyond, then ages still to come will say, we, all of us here, we kept the faith. We preserved democracy. We heeded our worst. We heeded not our worst instincts, but our better angels. We proved that for all its imperfections, America is still the beacon to the world, an ideal to be realized, a promise to be kept.
Okay, so I think Daniel B. is making a point here where Biden is talking about the danger of MAGA Republicans. And I agree with Daniel B. there that he should have said extreme MAGA Republicans, because basically MAGA Republicans, if you ask someone who voted for Trump, are you a MAGA Republican? I think most of them would say, yes, I am. So that one term is what caused all of this kind of misunderstanding, maybe purposeful, so I'll concede that point. MAGA Republicans should not be a term that Biden used. He should have said extreme MAGA Republican or ultra MAGA or something like that.
What I would have said to respond to Daniel B's comment, he said MAGA Republicans. So how would you differentiate that from someone that votes for our candidate? I would say that I don't think he's referring to everybody in the entire world who has voted in their life for a Republican candidate. I think what he's trying to say is maybe the people who voted for Trump. Maybe not every single Republican president that there's ever been.
Well, now, in fairness, Brandon, a lot of people voted for Trump. I think 70 million, and then 80 million voted for Biden. So I think it's unfair to the 70 million to say that they're all anti-democracy. But of that 70 million, there's probably, I don't know, some subset of that do kind of believe in like the violent uprising and the Kraken and all that stuff. But, let's just let's underscore the point that Biden, by using the term MAGA Republicans, I think in Biden's mind, he has an image of that extreme group. But he doesn't realize that most people who voted for Trump, including the people who were not for Jan 6 insurrection, also consider themselves MAGA Republicans. So it's sort of like, oh, he kind of didn't calibrate his terminology with how people see themselves. And for that, he is guilty. But if you watch the speech, I think it's pretty clear who he's talking about. And now he's a president. We would hold Trump to a very high standard on using clear, specific, concise, articulate language. And I would criticize Trump for doing this. And in this case, I have to criticize Biden too. Because clearly, yes, people are taking advantage of his inartful language, but he kind of stepped in it as well.
There's nothing more important Nothing more sacred, nothing more American. That's our soul. That's who we truly are. And that's who we must always be. I have no doubt, none, that this is who we will be, and that we'll come together as a nation that will secure our democracy, that for the next 200 years, we'll have what we had the past 200 years, the greatest nation on the face of the earth. We just need to remember who we are. We are the United States of America, the United States of America. And may God protect our nation, and may God protect all those who stand watch over our democracy. God bless you all. Democracy. Thank you.
All right. So that was the now infamous speech from Biden. And my takeaway and summary is this. It was not nearly as satanic and Nazi-like and divisive as I think the MAGA media made it out to be, the MAGA media. However, because he used the term MAGA Republican, which in his mind was the extremes, like the Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Lauren Boebert, the Matt Gaetz, that type. I think that's what he thinks when he says MAGA Republican. And he doesn't realize that there's probably tens of millions of people who think of themselves as MAGA Republican. So I think the lesson learned, Brandon, is be really careful with the language you use when giving speeches to the whole country, especially when the other side will jump down your throat and totally not give you the benefit of the doubt. All right, with that, we're going to have to run and go to dinner. Oh, you want to make one thing, yeah. You want to make a point before we wrap up? Go ahead, Brandon. Drop some wisdom.
So I was just saying, so for Bobby numbers, or Biden campaigned on the promise to unite the country. He's not keeping his promise, but doing the opposite. Don't really have anything to like say like, oh, you're wrong. I wouldn't say that. I would say if you think about it, do you believe that Trump tried to unite the country?
Ooh, yeah, that is a very good question, and we will address that in our next live stream, maybe later today, if not in the next couple of days, where we do the same thing. I don't know if you'll have enough stamina to join me, and I will review the Trump speech that he gave a couple days later, also in Pennsylvania.
I want to do that one.
Oh, really? Okay, well, then we should eat dinner, and then you should take your shower, and then we'll do another stream. So if you enjoyed this conversation, do me a solid, like, share, subscribe, comment below. What do you think is the most so-called crazy? Now, I do want to address one thing, which is Bobby Numbers is very active in the chat. I appreciate that. He's saying, hey, you keep talking about Satan and Hitler. That's a red herring. Well, I'm just telling you, this is not me making this up. This is from one of the intellectual leaders of the MAGA movement, Sean Hannity, who, as a reminder, bro has 5.9 million followers, and I don't know how many people watch him on his show, but this is a guy who said that to his 6 million followers, and he's telling now, are people gonna watch the full speech, or are they gonna say like, wait a minute, Hannity, a man I trust, is saying that this was satanic and it's the Fourth Reich, right? Like, this is not me saying that. This is Sean Hannity. Okay. So this is a guy who his followers watch him and follow every word. Like, I have MAGA family members who love Sean Hannity and think he's just the smartest guy ever. And so he's telling his people that that this was rancid, that this was satanic, and that this was Naziist. So no, this is hate-filled speech. Hate-filled speech, really? That's Sean Hannity. That's not saying Nazi or Satan. Was that really a hate-filled speech? Like
that was a little over-exaggerated.
We all watched it together just now. Was that really hate-filled? Was it a fiery MAGA bashing? Now, that one, it was definitely bashing extreme MAGA, and we've already gone to the point about MAGA versus extreme MAGA, but you call it the Reich stuff, okay? That has 2,000 likes, 464 retweets, angry, rancid, demeaning. Was it really demeaning half of America? Demeaning half of America? Let's see what else. He's saying that MAGA Republicans are a threat to the country. Hecklers shout F Joe Biden. So, and then the other thing is, I'll also remind you that this is what Nikki Haley, one of the up-and-coming MAGA leaders, and probably would like to be vice president and maybe eventually president, that it was chilling. Did we just watch a speech that was chilling?
It might have been warm because of the lights, but I don't think it was chilling.
Was it unthinkable that he would speak? Did he speak about half of the Americans that way? So, look, the guy was used language that could have been misinterpreted, and he basically gave them an inch, and they're running through a mile with it. And I don't blame them, because this is politics. Fine, but I just hope that everybody out there, if you're watching this on replay, or if you're here during the live stream, like, you actually tried to watch the whole speech, please encourage other people. They don't have to. You could share this live stream with them. I don't know if they want to watch an hour and a half of a decomposition of the speech, but just ask them to watch the whole speech. They could do it in 1.25 speed, and ask yourself, like, okay, was this really rancid and insulting half of the country? Is this really, unspeakable Reich kind of talk? With that, we're going to say goodbye, nerds.
Yeah. Just donate.
Donate. Yeah. You could also click the join button and become a member.
Oh, you forgot to announce the people.
Yeah, because mom's got the dinner ready. We got to run.
No rapid fire?
Okay. You know what, guys? You see how much Brandon loves our members? I'm going to get in trouble with my wife because we're late for dinner, and she's going to tell me that the dinner got cold. But our highest level member is Soldier 1, Senior Vice President. And then I'm going to do Vice Presidents and Hardcore, and then we got to go to dinner. Vice Presidents are Kristen Slevin and Bike. All these people help pay for our podcast hosting fees and our software licensing fees, as well as other costs of operating the channel. Gene, David, DK, Jekalego, Hirsch, Mr. History, Mona, Vaughn, Yang, Robert, Dean, Statner, Galessa, J. Perrin, AH, Dana, Jason, Parth, and Daniel. And there are other verified nerds who I won't be able to get to because I'm going to get taken to the doghouse, but I will call out all members in the next live stream where we react to Donald J. Trump's own speech. With that, we're going to say goodbye, nerds.